So today I'll be talking about two of the Ninja Turtles, Raphael and Leonardo. I'll spend most of the time on Leonardo just because he's more famous of the two, but Raphael is a master as well. So the one piece of art that I'm going to take a look at from Raphael is this piece right here called The School of Athens, which shows, like it says, the school in Athens, particularly the school with Plato and Aristotle. Now, if you remember anything about Greek philosophy, Plato said that knowledge exists above, within a heavenly realm, which he called the forms. And this was seen through a lot of different analogies, including the allegory of the cave, which we talked about in ancient Greece. Aristotle, his student, however, was a scientist and focused on empiricism and using logic and our senses in order to better understand the world, and that the truth was within the world itself. So in the photo here, very famously, you can see the two different guys. So let me show you this. So, who's who? Well, if you remember, Plato was the teacher of Aristotle. So he's the older one. So this is Plato. And then this is Aristotle. Now, it's symbolic here which way they're pointing. So Plato's pointing above. All knowledge exists outside of our world. While Aristotle is kind of putting his hand below. And knowledge can be seen through this, through empirical evidence. So the kind of debate between the two is seen here. Now moving on to Da Vinci, we'll be talking about the Last Supper. So here's the famous photo. A couple things to point out. The grouping of threes is big. There's 12 disciples, and each is kind of in a three. There's 3 windows in the back. That's kind of a reference to the Trinity. And this is the moment that Jesus is revealing that one of the disciples is going to betray him. The one who is a bit lower than the others is Judas right here. He's also holding, if you look closely, a little money bag because Judas was the one who was going to betray Christ. So like I said, it's capturing this moment, and there's also some symbolic use of the Trinity. There's also huge evidence of sfumato. And then the most famous painting in the world's Mona Lisa, which is in the Louvre Museum in Paris, and intends use of sfumato. One big thing, now the question is, why is it so famous? It's kind of just seems silly. It's small, it's about 2 feet by 3 feet, so it's not large. Well, there's a couple different reasons. One, the sfumato, this background, is actually in kind of an imaginary blended background. In Leonardo's time, it was actually common to have the background and the foreground equally clear. So by blending the background, that was a bit of a different idea. Also, this idea of the 3/4 pose was revolutionary at the time. The smile is, people try to figure out what that means. These are all kind of different things that added to kind of the mystique. But really, the reason it's famous in more modern times is that it was stolen. Basically, about 100 years ago, an Italian guy, so it's the painting's in Paris, in France, an Italian guy wanted to go bring it back home to Italy. And he hid in the Louvre Museum, came out at night and stole the painting. And the question is, who stole Da Vinci's painting? And he ended up getting caught a couple of years later. But the idea of this painting getting stolen really added to its mystique. Here's just a close-up of Mona Lisa's arms, which are folded in order to show her good virtue. Here's a picture of the missing painting. This is what they saw when the painting was stolen about 100 years ago. And today I have a couple pictures of the crowds. You can see how small it is. It's covered with bulletproof glass. The painting's been attacked for obvious reasons. Very famous. But people are always shocked when they see it at how small of a painting it is. And some more crowd shots. Vitruvian Man. Now, Vitruvius was a Greek dude, and Leonardo made this famous image of the Vitruvian Man. Total humanism. Human being the ideal, and the Vitruvian Man is in 2 poses there. The idea that human proportions could be used to go and be glorified. So they use like these human proportions to go and say there's a perfect circle, or that buildings should be built off of this. So Vitruvius is named after that, and there's kind of some silly things of what the ideal human proportions are. So you can pause here, take a second, but these are things that come out of the Virtruvian Man, is that there are certain ideal human proportions that you should have. Obviously, nobody has this, but for instance, your wingspan should be the same as your height, etc. So you can take a second look at this. The last point I want to make with Leonardo is that he was a Renaissance man. What I mean by a Renaissance man was he was super well-rounded. He didn't just do the art, he knew a little bit of everything. He's called what we call like a jack of all trades. So he could do science and math, anatomy, engineering, inventions. He did everything. So these are kind of cool. I'm going to show you just some sketches here about some of the stuff that he did. So his interest in anatomy here, this is his sketch of what a baby looked like in the womb. He was known to dig up bodies. He was very interested in human anatomy. Some of his interest in geometry. Some more of his interest here in human anatomy, bone structure. And here are some of his inventions that he made. Here's kind of a hang glider type thing that he designed. And last but not least, a form of a helicopter. So there's Da Vinci. A little bit about Raphael. Now obviously this is pretty quick, just scratching the surface, but hopefully that gives you a little bit of an idea between these guys. You could talk for a long time about any of these paintings, any of these works, but these are just kind of the big things that you guys should know.